If Ayrton Senna was the wild flame chosen by God to scorch the track, then Alain Prost was the great iceberg, cold, sharp, and chillingly ruthless. The world called him the Professor, respecting him for his superior intellect but despising him for his pragmatic calculations. They turned him into the villain in the tragic movie of Senna's life. But pause for a moment. Did you know that this very bad guy was the only person who made the god of speed Senna feel respect in the burning desire to defeat? How did a short boy dreaming of becoming a gym teacher become a billionaire, owning 4 world championships and a fortune of nearly $200 million? And why? After years of life and death hatred, was he the only one Senna called a close friend in his final moments? Welcome to the untold story of one of the greatest drivers in the glorious history of F1, Alain Prost. Chapter 1, The Pepper Pot Boy and the Pain of Loss, Birthing the Cold Professor. If someone had told young Alain-Marie Pascal Prost in the late 60s that he would later become one of the fastest men on the planet, a living legend of motorsports, he surely would have laughed. Born on February 24, 1955 in the small town of Lorette in central France, little Alain possessed a stature so small and modest that he often disappeared among his peers. With a height of just 5'5", 1.65 mm as an adult, and a characteristic broken nose from a sports injury, Alain looked more like an agile soccer player or a gymnast than a majestic Formula One driver. And in fact, that was his initial dream. Alain Prost loved sports passionately, but physical sports like soccer, wrestling, and athletics. He dreamed of becoming a gym teacher or a professional soccer player, living an active but simple life, away from the noise and dust of internal combustion engines. The Prost family wasn't wealthy. Alain's father, André Prost, made kitchen furniture, a job requiring meticulousness and precision, but providing only enough to eat. That very circumstance forged in Alain a practical, thrifty character who knew how to cherish every penny, qualities that would later help him become the Professor on the track, famous for his ability to save fuel and tires to perfection. However, the fateful turn came when Alain was 14 during a family summer vacation in southern France. To kill time, André invited his son to try go-karting. Initially, Alain reluctantly climbed into that noisy, vibrating vehicle. But the moment his foot touched the gas pedal and his hands gripped the steering wheel, an electric current ran down the young man's spine. The car wasn't a lifeless machine. It responded to his every smallest gesture. He realized he could control it at will, sliding through corners with absolute precision without using too much strength. At that moment, the dream of becoming a soccer player died, giving way to a new obsession named speed. However, the road from amateur karting boy to F1 legend wasn't paved with roses, but full of scars, both physical and mental. Few know that the calm to the point of cold personality, always putting safety first, of the later Alain Prost stemmed from a painful teenage tragedy. In 1986, his younger brother, Daniel, died of cancer. But before that, it was Daniel who shared the passion for speed with Alain, and also witnessed the horrific accidents of friends on the track. Alain Prost soon realized the fragility of human life. Unlike Ayrton Senna, who considered death part of a spiritual game, Prost considered death a failure of calculation. He vowed to himself never to drive beyond the necessary limit, never to gamble his life meaningfully for a few tenths of a second. He wanted to win, but he also wanted to survive to return home. The philosophy of winning at the slowest speed possible was formed from those pains of loss, turning him into a unique driver, fast but not hurried, brave but not reckless. Alain Prost started his professional racing career empty-handed, but with a head full of calculations. He worked odd jobs to buy tires, repairing engines himself because he had no money to hire mechanics. His career advanced rapidly thanks to innate talent and sharp tactical thinking. He won Formula Renault, then European Formula 3, sweeping all titles in junior leagues with a driving style so smooth it was boring but brutally effective. In 1980, he officially stepped into the glamorous world of Formula One in the colors of the McLaren team. But that start wasn't as smooth as a dream. Cars at that time were mechanical monsters prone to breakdown, and Prost tasted the bitterness of technical failure. He broke his wrist in an accident, constantly had to retire due to car failure, and even left McLaren in resentment to return home to join Renault, the French national team. At Renault, Alain Prost was expected to become a national hero, the first to bring the World Championship to France in a French car. The pressure was enormous. He dedicated everything: sweat, tears, and even life risks. But responding to that effort was a choking, bitter ending in 1983, when the championship was within reach. The Renault car broke down in the final race. The image of Alain Prost helplessly stepping out of the smoking car, bowing his head, walking back to the pit lane amidst the boos of his own compatriot fans, became a wound that never healed. He was fired, ridiculed by the French media as a failure, blamed for the weakness of an entire automotive industry. Alain Prost left France in humiliation, carrying bitterness and a burning determination for revenge. He realized that in this cruel world, patriotism couldn't feed him, and romance had no place. He needed to become colder, more ruthless. And the only place that could help him do that, ironically, was his old team McLaren, run by a man famous for pragmatism, Ron Dennis. Chapter 2. The Great War with Senna and the Cruel Collision at Suzuka. When Alain Prost signed the contract to return to McLaren in 1984, he wasn't merely looking for a new job. He was seeking resurrection from the ashes of honor, leaving France with the deep scar of failure at Renault. Prost came to Ron Dennis's McLaren, a cold, disciplined, and distinctly British environment where there was no room for sentimental emotions. Only results is the sole measure. And right here, the true professor was fully awakened. Prost didn't drive with youthful madness anymore. He drove with the precision of a living computer. While rivals exhausted their cars from the first laps, Prost was patient, preserving tires, saving fuel, and only throwing the decisive punch in the final laps. That tactic helped him win 2 consecutive world championships in 1985 and 1996, turning him into the uncrowned king of F1. At that time, Prost believed he was invincible, the center of the McLaren universe, until his sky was covered by a giant shadow from South America in 1988. The arrival of Ayrton Senna at McLaren brought Prost not just a new teammate, but an existential nightmare. Driving the legendary MP44, the car absolutely dominating that season, both turned F1 into McLaren's private playground. But behind the glorious 1-2 victories was a brutal Cold War. Prost, with his keenness, quickly realized a painful truth: he couldn't be faster than Senna in a qualifying lap. Senna drove as if guided by gods, ready to surpass physical limits to take pole position. To survive, Prost was forced to activate his ultimate weapon: intellect and strategy. He focused on setting up the car for the race, accepting starting behind but winning through endurance. However, that simmering tension exploded into open war on the fateful day at Imola in 1989, an event that forever changed F1 history and turned 2 teammates into sworn enemies. Before the San Marino Grand Prix, Prost and Senna had a gentleman's agreement. Whoever led at the first corner would have the right to win the race without being attacked by the other. To avoid accidents for the team, Prost strictly adhered, but Senna did not. At Tosa Corner, exploiting Prost's opening, Senna rushed to overtake and won, for a man valuing honor and promises like Prost. That action was an unforgivable betrayal. He felt stabbed in the back by the very person he had once supported joining the team. From that moment, Prost no longer considered Senna a teammate. He was a target to be destroyed. The McLaren garage was divided, engineers weren't allowed to share data, and the air was thick with hatred. Prost was lonely right in his own home, as he felt Ron Dennis and Honda were gradually favoring Golden Boy Senna. The climax of this Greek tragedy took place at Suzuka, Japan, at the end of the 1989 season. Senna needed to win to keep championship hopes alive, while Prost only needed Senna not to finish. On lap 46, when Senna rushed to attack at the Casio Triangle chicane, Prost did something he rarely did in his career: he didn't yield. Instead of widening the corner angle to avoid collision as usual, Prost steered early, slamming the door shut. Crash. 2 McLarens locked together and slid off the track. In the quiet moment when dust settled, Prost unbuckled and stepped out of the car. He knew he had won. It was a cold, cruel, but legal calculation. He used Senna's own aggression to trap him. Senna later asked marshals to push his car back onto the track and won, but was disqualified for rule violation. Prost became world champion for the third time amidst a storm of public criticism, claiming he was a coward who won thanks to lawyers and politics, not driving skills. The 1989 championship was the peak of fame, but also the abyss of emotion for Prost. He realized he couldn't stay at McLaren another day. Honda's bias for Senna, the public's blind worship of the Brazilian driver's reckless style turned Prost into a villain in the world's eyes. He left McLaren, shedding the red and white uniform attached to his most glorious years to don the bright red of Ferrari, the legendary but chaos-filled Italian team. Prost came to Ferrari as a savior, hoping to regain respect and prove he could win without a McLaren car. But he didn't expect that moving to Ferrari wasn't an escape, but stepping into another fire pan, where internal politics were even more terrible than the war with Senna. And right at Maranello, the calm professor would, for the first and only time in his life, lose control, uttering words that got him fired immediately and pushed his career into the darkest dead end. Chapter 3. Kicked out by Ferrari in the shocking Senna ban. Winter 91, Alain Prost found himself standing in a cold blizzard, both literally and figuratively, from the status of a respected professor, a three-time champion sought after by the world. He suddenly became an unemployed outcast, rejected by the flashy Ferrari team itself. The cause of that tragedy stemmed from a slip of the tongue and extreme anger after the Japanese Grand Prix, when the Ferrari 643 was heavy and hard to control to the point Prost likened it to a truck. In Italy, insulting Ferrari is like blasphemy. The management at Maranello did not forgive that brutal honesty. They fired him immediately, kicking the champion onto the street before the season ended. For a man always proud of control and calculation like Prost, being publicly fired was an unswallowable humiliation. Media gloated, rivals mocked, and Ayrton Senna was reigning at the peak of fame. Prost's illustrious career seemed to have hit rock bottom. However, precisely in the dark days of 1992, the year Prost called a reluctant sabbatical, the terrifying survival instinct of the professor truly rose. While the world thought he was washed up and should retire to 10 gardens, Prost quietly executed a daring strategic move. He rejected offers from mid-tier teams, accepting sitting at home watching TV and being a commentator, just to wait for a single opportunity, the seat at the Williams team. Prost, with the keen eye of a master engineer, saw the terrible potential of the Williams FW14B equipped with active suspension. He knew that was the key to reopening the door to glory, and to ensure his return was perfect. Prost inserted a shocking clause into the contract with Williams, a clause making him the greatest villain in the eyes of romantic fans, the right to veto a teammate, specifically absolutely banning Ayrton Senna from joining the team with him in '93. When news of this clause leaked, Ayrton Senna went mad. In a furious press conference, Senna called Prost a coward, accusing him of not daring to compete fairly. Public opinion surged, pointing spears at Prost, claiming he only wanted an easy victory. But Prost didn't care. He was too tired of psychological wars, political games, and the deadly danger of racing with a reckless man like Senna in the same colors. He needed the fourth title to affirm his position, and he would do anything, including playing the villain, to achieve it. In '93, Prost returned to the track in the Williams FW15C, the most powerful in history. True to calculation, he dominated the season, winning 7 races and taking the World Championship for the 4th time. But it was a lonely championship. On the podium, the crowd still chanted Senna's name. Prost won the race, but seemingly lost the battle for the audience's hearts. However, behind the cold exterior of a hated winning machine, Alain Prost's personal life was also experiencing fierce undercurrents he tried to hide. The public always saw a dignified, decent Prost with his wife Anne-Marie, who had accompanied him from humble beginnings, creating the image of a model French couple. But few knew that the terrible pressure of his career and silent cracks pushed the professor into a complicated extramarital affair in the turbulent early '90s. Prost had a secret relationship leading to the birth of a daughter. If this scandal were exposed at that time, it would be a fatal blow, destroying the perfect image he painstakingly built. But unlike entertainment stars often letting private lives splash on papers, Prost handled this personal crisis exactly how he raced: discreetly, responsibly, and full of calculation to minimize damage. He protected his family, shielding his children from media scrutiny, and accepted bearing all guilt in silence. This event showed a very human corner of Prost. He wasn't an emotionless robot. He also had weaknesses, mistakes, and pains unable to share. The final chapter of that illustrious career closed with a heartbreakingly beautiful moment of reconciliation at the 1993 Australian GP. Prost's last race before permanent retirement. On the podium, after years of hatred, fighting, and reviling each other, Ayrton Senna, the winner of that race, actively pulled Alain Prost up to the top step with him. Senna grasped Prost's hand, raising it high to the sky, a gesture of acknowledgement and respect for the greatest rival of his life. In that moment, all grudges vanished. Prost smiled, a relieved smile of one shedding a 1,000-pound burden. He realized that without Senna, he would never have been so great. And Senna also understood that when Prost left, a part of his soul would die too. The professor chose to leave the game at the peak of fame, carrying 4 championships and a massive fortune, leaving behind a controversial but heroic legacy. Now, having taken off the sweat-soaked racing suit, Alain Prost returned to the life of a super-rich civilian. But how would a man who spent his life calculating every millimeter on the track, who owns a fortune of hundreds of millions of dollars thanks to his wisdom, live his retirement life? Chapter 4, the reclusive billionaire. Ditching 1,000 HP, supercars to torture himself on a bicycle. Stepping out of the cramped cockpit reeking of gasoline with 4 world championships and an intact body, the professor applied his very genius calculation formulas on the track to the financial chessboard, making him one of the richest and most powerful drivers in history, even long after the engine roar stopped. With an estimated net worth of over 185 million in 2025, Alain Prost's life is the embodiment of French luxury: sophisticated, discreet, unostentatious, but classy to the smallest detail. He doesn't throw money out the window on debauched parties or flashy supercar collections just to show off on social media. He uses money to buy freedom and absolute control of his living space. The professor's shelter isn't skyscraping penthouses in New York or noisy villas in Monaco, but an isolated mansion hidden amidst the peaceful and cold beauty of the Neon region. Switzerland. Prost chose this country as his second home very early, not only for attractive tax incentives for the super rich, but also for the culture respecting absolute privacy here. In a house surrounded by fortified fences and state-of-the-art security systems, Prost lives the life of a true upper-class gentleman. He wakes up before the sun rises, not to discuss racing tactics, but to enjoy silence, the luxury item he lacked for half his life. Furniture in his house isn't gold-plated, but every item is a carefully selected work of art. From handmade Italian leather sofas to a wine cellar containing rare Bordeaux and Burgundy bottles decades old. Worth a fortune, Prost enjoys wine the way he drives slowly, analyzing every flavor layer and accepting only the quintessence. However, what amazes people most about Alain Prost's lifestyle in his twilight years isn't wealth, but the strange physical passion replacing racing cycling. Can you believe it? The man who once drove 1,000 horsepower machines now finds ultimate satisfaction on 2 crude wheels powered by human strength. Prost doesn't cycle for leisure. He cycles with the intensity of a professional athlete. At 70, he still keeps a toned physique. No excess fat, sinewy legs, still regularly swallowing hundreds of kilometers a week on the treacherous steep passes of the Alps. He owns a collection of high-tech racing bikes, each worth tens of thousands of dollars, fine-tuned to his body specs, precise to the millimeter. For Prost, cycling is how he maintains competition with himself, where he finds the sweet muscle pain and high concentration F1 once brought. The image of a 70-year-old man in tight gear, sweating profusely, conquering towering peaks has become a symbol of the professor's never-retiring iron will. Besides passion for sports, Alain Prost is also a sharp investor and a connoisseur of watches. He doesn't wear sparkling diamond Rolexes. On his wrist are often super light, Super complex Richard Mille watches with skeleton designs displaying the beauty of precision mechanics. The relationship between Prost and the Richard Mille brand isn't just brand ambassador, but philosophical harmony, obsession with technique, and performance. Additionally, Prost cleverly invests in real estate and maintains senior advisory roles for major automotive corporations like Renault before the noisy split, ensuring cash flow into his pocket is always stable and abundant. He never lets money sleep. He participated in founding the Formula E team, grasping the electric vehicle trend very early, proving the foresight of a seasoned businessman. Prost understands that reputation is an intangible asset, and he has monetized his legendary name thoroughly but with self-respect. Prost's social life is also calculated carefully like racing laps. He rarely appears at chaotic entertainment events. Instead, he is seen dining with politicians, powerful CEOs, or old friends in the racing world at the most discreet Michelin restaurants in Europe. He still maintains relationships with the Senna family, participating in activities of the Ayrton Senna Institute as a way to pay tribute to his late friend. Prost's wealth exudes a quiet authority. He doesn't need to shout to be noticed. His calm presence itself is a weight. He is proof that in the race of life, the first to finish isn't necessarily the fastest, but the one who knows how to protect his car, meaning body and assets, to go the furthest distance. Alain Prost survived the deadly era of F1, survived political schemes, and now he is enjoying the winner's reward of fulfilling wealthy old age and, most importantly, being alive to tell the story of history. Chapter 5, The Villain Exonerated. In 2025, the Formula One world rushes into a new era with biohybrid engines, Gen Z drivers growing up with simulation screens, and flashy races in Las Vegas or Miami. Amidst the swirling flow of technology and noise, there is a white-haired man, small but sturdy stature, standing quietly by the pit lane, squinting eyes thoughtfully observing cars rushing across the finish line. That is Alain Prost. On February 24, 2025, the professor officially turned 70, the age of 70 people usually dedicate to rest and reminiscence. But for Prost, 70 years isn't a stop, but a new peak, where he stands tall as a lighthouse of wisdom and experience, the last living witness of a golden age full of blood and tears that today's youth can only know through faded documentary footage. The most miraculous thing that came to Alain Prost in these twilight years is not how many millions of dollars his assets increased, but the exoneration of history. For over 3 decades since the tragic death of Ayrton Senna, Prost had to live under the giant shadow of his former teammate, the world, in the pain of loss. Unintentionally or intentionally turned Senna into a martyr saint and pushed Prost into the role of villain, a calculating, cold, and cowardly politician. But time is the fairest judge. When pain subsides and frenzy settles, people begin to look back at history with a more objective eye. The new audience generation of 2025 realizes that without Prost's ruthless perfection, there would never be such a great Senna. Prost was the benchmark, the great wall that Senna had to use his entire life to overcome. At 70, Alain Prost still maintains a terrifyingly powerful influence. Although he has left direct management positions like at the Alpine team after disagreements on professionalism, his voice still carries the weight of 1,000 pounds. He is a senior advisor to automotive corporations, a global ambassador connecting past and present. When young drivers like Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, or emerging stars struggle with managing pressure or tire tactics, the person they seek for advice is none other than the professor. Prost teaches them that speed is only a necessary condition. A cool head is the sufficient condition to become a champion. He sees his reflection in how Lewis Hamilton preserves tires, or in the sharp calculation of Fernando Alonso. He smiles, realizing his philosophy of winning at the slowest speed possible has become the guideline for modern racing. However, the greatest legacy Alain Prost carries with him in the final years of his life is an intangible legacy named Ayrton Senna. There is a painful but beautiful paradox: the person who understands Senna best, remembers Senna best, and cherishes Senna best in this world is Alain Prost in his quiet office in Switzerland. Prost still keeps photos taken with Senna during rare happy days. He often tells that after he retired in 1993, Senna called him weekly, confiding about loneliness without a worthy rival, about insecurity with new cars. Prost was no longer an enemy. He was the only confidant Senna could trust. When Senna died, a part of Prost's soul died too. He admitted, "I didn't just lose a rival, I lost half of my life story." Now, Prost lives for the part of his late friend's life. He actively participates in activities of the Ayrton Senna Institute, helping Senna's family maintain the Brazilian legend's legacy. He is the faithful temple keeper, ensuring Senna's flame never goes out, but also not letting it burn down historical truth. He completed the longest race of his life, the race of being human, with a perfect tactic, using a cool head to keep a hot heart beating forever. Thank you, Alain Prost, for teaching us that sometimes. The greatest courage is not stomping the gas to rush forward, but knowing when to lift the foot off the gas to go further. We are not responsible if you misinterpret or misapply this content. Please consider, verify, and receive selectively. Enjoyed it? Leave a like, comment, share, or subscribe. That is the fuel for us to tell more top-tier stories about other F1 legends.